Hi, welcome this evening to the Lee-Fendall House garden. My name is Amanda, and we are here today to share with you some inspiration about pollinator gardens. In case you want to make your own, create your own space, we're going to tell you a little bit about our garden, what we've done to introduce plants here that attract all types of pollinators. Right now, of course, we are hoping to attract a lot of butterflies. So we're going to be talking with our gardener Roger to get more information about what's growing in our garden.
Good afternoon. I'm Roger. I'm the volunteer gardener here. I've been working here for about 3 years. We're very proud of our pollinator garden. We just purchased a nice sign last year to showcase it. I want to tell you a little bit about the garden, what kind of plants are here, and maybe a little bit about the management that we're looking at. Now, I started here about 3 years ago, so we inherited some of these plants. Some of these are non-natives. I'll give you an example of that. The butterfly bush back here is a non-native, and actually it's considered mildly invasive, but it's not a really big problem in our backyard. We do pick up sprouts here and there, but we may move them or we take care of them. Another non-native would be the lantana back here. This pink one, which is a wonderful attractant for butterflies. We're sort of at the northern end of its range right here. Down in Richmond, I saw some very healthy specimens recently, and a lot of folks are concerned about overwintering here, but so far it looks really good. So we've been lucky in that respect. Let me back up here a little bit, Amanda. Another non-native we have is the ox-eye daisy. The Latin name is Leucanthemum vulgare, but I love the synonym. They have synonyms because they may have been named earlier by another botanist. It's Chrysanthemum leucanthemum. I love that. Chrysanthemum leucanthemum. That's quite a mouthful. So we've seen butterflies in this garden, a lot of butterflies the last few years. We primarily have seen fritillaries, seen monarchs, seen red admirals. Those are the top three, but we have a lot of other ones that we're still trying to identify, so it's very, very good. What we're trying to do with this pollinator garden is to introduce more natives. Now, we have a publication by Green Spring Gardens here you may want to run down. It's called Using Native Plants to Attract Butterflies in the Washington, D.C. area. And there's quite a lengthy list in here of shrubs, herbs, you name it, plants that are very important to butterflies. So some of the things we're trying to introduce, hopefully this fall, when it gets a little cooler, here's a black-eyed Susan, which is a native that we'll be introducing to the garden. We did already introduce a bee balm over here. This plant, this tall plant, is just about ready to flower, and that's a wonderful pollinator plant. We also introduced recently, over here, Amanda, this coneflower. Now, there are cultivars of coneflower, so we're going to see how attractive this is to butterflies. The natives tend to be more attractive than the cultivars, but we shall see. Another very, very important plant to put in your pollinator garden is a butterfly weed, and it's a member of the milkweed family, and this is one of the easiest ones to put in your pollinator garden. This one we purchased from Mount Vernon during their plant sale this spring, and we hope it does really well here. We have another milkweed here too. Man, this is the common milkweed. This is important for the monarchs. They lay their eggs on the plant.
What type of flower does it get?
The color is kind of a rose purple color.
Okay.
The Latin name is Asclepias syriaca. One thing about the common milkweed you should know, though, it reproduces by rhizomes under the soil. So when you put it into a small garden, you have to carefully manage and monitor it because it can take up a lot of space. It's best to plant it in a larger area so it can fill it in. So we're going to be having to be fairly careful in watching this one. So those are the types of things that we're trying to add to this pollinator garden. Of course, we don't want to have any pesticides around. That's not good for this particular garden. A few things about management of the butterfly bush. You have to cut this back every year. We usually cut it back in early winter or late fall. Cut it down to maybe 6 inches. and then it sprouts back up. This is just 1 year's growth right here. And if you do that, you get more blooms every year. They like that young, fresh growth. Okay, like we had to cut back the butterfly bush every year, we also have to cut back the lantana every year. We cut it right back down to the ground and we mulch it. And we're always worried about whether it survives the winter, but so far, knock on wood, we've been pretty lucky as far as that goes. I should mention another issue with the oxeye daisy here. It's a good idea to deadhead them, and we did that today. You notice a lot of these we cut off the heads here, and they might possibly reflower. We'll have to see. So that's always a good thing to do in your garden. Now the last thing we're going to do is just briefly walk around the garden. We'll just show you a few other plants that function as pollinator plants, and perhaps you can use those in your garden as well. Okay, this is another part of our garden. Just wanted to point out the goldenrod back here, which is considered the #1 rank for herbaceous plants for supporting butterflies and moths, based on a study. So we're really happy about this, and the blooms will be coming out, beautiful yellow blooms. I also want to mention we have another butterfly bush that we moved over here, and you notice this is in the partial shade. It's not in the full sun, and it's still doing pretty well. Okay, we have another beautiful pollinator plant back here. It's a native. It's called spice bush, and this one is used by the eastern tiger swallowtail, which I don't think I mentioned earlier, but we have a lot of swallowtails that come in our backyard every year. Now the spice bush, it's got a very pleasant flavor. If you pull a leaf and just chew that lower part of the leaf like that, you'll get a nice sweet little taste. And it was used for tea and in past times. So that's another pollinator for you to put in your garden. Well, I hope this little talk inspires you to start your own pollinator garden. Emphasize natives. If you do have some non-natives that you've inherited, then maybe work around those. So go after it. Get some nice butterflies in your backyard. And please come out and visit our garden anytime you want. And also visit the house. Lee-Fendall House is a wonderful historical site.